Hey everybody, welcome to Stuff&Things, episode 5. Attack of the Clones. No, it's not right. It's not right at all. Tonight we're talking about television, but a couple things off the gate. Thank you for joining me this evening. Hope you're having a good Friday. Item number 1. There's no intro tonight. Hi Jordan, how are you this evening? There's no intro to the show tonight because I was working on it, and my daughter decided that flipping the light switch on and off and on and off and on and off over and over and over again on the same circuit as the one that's in my office was a good idea, and she tripped the breaker. Because of that, it corrupted my file that I was working on. So I'm going to have to start over from scratch, do a new intro, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. We will see about that. Number 2, found out that my daughter was in the living room playing Fortnite. She's 2. And her thing was she put pillows down on the ground and sat on them and used 2 cars as controllers. And she said she was playing Fortnite, and she was going, "Oh my gosh, the dragon!" Because of the little dragon in the backpack that you can have. So it's hilarious what little kids pick up, because she goes, there's a video of it. She goes, "Playing Fortnite with Lincoln and Zelda and you," to my wife, and my wife goes, "We're building a fort." She goes, "No, we're playing Fortnite." So, pretty good. Is she good at Fortnite? I'm sure in her brain she is very good. She's probably the best. We told her that if she can learn to read, then we will teach her to play video games as well. So, maybe someday you'll see DJ Scarfox up playing some video games. So, tonight, in Stuff and Things, episode 5, I can't believe that this has been going on for over a month already. That is crazy. That's wild to me. Tonight we're talking about television. Favorite shows you don't like, shows you hate. What you find, what works in TV shows, what doesn't work, all that kind of stuff. To start off, I'll tell you about some of the shows that we watch that we really like. The Good Place is one of our favorite shows. It's so good. Good Place, good. The Office is king. Jordan says yes. The Office is very, very good. We, my wife has been watching through the seasons, and I'll catch episodes here and there, and they're always good. Parks and Rec is another one that we have had. We'll put it on in the background because we watch through the season so many times. And here's the thing about Parks and Rec. And I've run across this many, many times, and I have had this issue when I was first trying to get into Parks and Rec. I would start at the very beginning, like you should with any show, pretty much, and I'd get a few episodes in, and I go, "This is really a lame show. There's nothing going. I don't like it. It's not funny. It felt like an Office clone." So I tried a couple times, didn't work, nothing. Then I was like, okay, I gotta push through. I'm gonna push through the first season and get into the second season. The first season is 6 episodes long, just like The Office had 6 episodes in their first season. And I pushed through, and I got through the first 10 episodes, and then it became one of the best shows I've ever watched on television. So good. Amazing. So, if you're thinking about trying to watch Parks and Rec, I would recommend it. You just have to kind of slog through those first episodes where they were really trying to find their characters and trying to find their footing. When it's created by the same person, the same people who created The Office, created Parks and Rec, there's going to be that overlay of character development. But they did a great job of separating those characters from any character that was on The Office after the first season and a few episodes. So, Meg Amira says, Survivor. That show, I don't understand. My wife and I are hooked on that show. And I come from a film and TV background. I know things, and I know that there are, what they show you isn't necessarily what's going on. A lot of what goes on Survivor is very realistic, is happening. But there's always behind the scenes stuff that go on that no one ever sees. Reality shows are not reality. But Survivor is really fun to watch. We really, really do like that show. Let's see here. The Good Place, it's fantastic. What else? Superstore, The Goldbergs, Modern Family, which I've heard a lot of people say that Modern Family should end because it's not funny anymore. I disagree. I think it's very funny still. My all-time favorite, The Simpsons. Still watching that. Wasn't allowed to watch that when it was first airing because I was too young, and Bart disrespectful and all that. So I wasn't allowed to watch it. But then, once I was able to watch it, I got hooked. And many of you heard my Homer Simpson impersonation, and many of you will hear my Homer Simpson impersonation at some point in your life. If you ever watch me stream, stuff like that, it'll come out randomly. Let's see here. Those are a lot of the shows we watch. The thing is with my schedule and with my wife's schedule, it's really hard to get the hour-long episodic television in. But there are definitely shows that we really like and we really try to keep up on. We're behind on so much. Humans are strange. Human nature and the decisions are strange sometimes. That is true. And it's very interesting to see human nature. We just watched this week's episode of Survivor, and we both were shaking our heads like, has this person ever watched Survivor? And because she basically got really, really mad, and it caused her to basically, she got voted out because she got super mad about this thing that was happening. And one of the other guys is just sitting there and he goes, "It's a game." It was quite funny. It was funny to see that. It was a very crazy episode. Jordan, buddy. I will mention your shoes thing once, but this is more of a talk show and less of a play video games and talk about shoes on our heads kind of venue. But I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here, buddy. One of our favorite hour-long episodic shows is Preacher, which, if anyone from either my family or my wife's family was to watch it, they'd question our, I don't know. It's very, very irreverent, and it's hilarious. It is hilarious. And it's very well done, and it's a crazy, the whole concept is crazy. It's based on a graphic novel. So we watch Preacher, we watch Game of Thrones, Westworld, which I have topics to discuss on both Game of Thrones, Westworld, other shows that are like that. So we watch a whole different smattering of things. I've watched through all of Breaking Bad, which is one of my favorite television shows of all times. It's just brilliant in the way that they executed everything. I haven't gotten into Better Call Saul. I have not seen any of those episodes yet, actually. But I know that show is quite phenomenal. Let's see here. Okay, so on the topic of Game of Thrones and Westworld, I did not watch Game of Thrones for a long time because I had heard, about the physical violence and against women sexually, that kind of thing in the show. And then, I talked to other people who were like, well, there is some of that, but there is vindication within it. And here's the thing that I've noticed with a lot of shows like Game of Thrones, like Westworld. The first season, maybe 2 seasons, there's a lot more of that kind of sexual energy that they're trying to portray on the screen with, the sex scenes, the nudity, all that kind of stuff. But then it tapers. They focus more on the story. It's almost as if they feel like, okay, we got to hook our audience with boobs. But then once they're hooked, we can take the boobs away. And it's like, no. You tell a good enough story, and you don't need that. And there are instances where it is... I'll go into a movie here for just a second. Ex Machina. Yeah. Right? That's what it's called? Yes. There was nudity in that movie, but it was based on the concepts of what was happening within the film, and it fit. It fit within the movie. A lot of times it doesn't. There were some things that fit within the TV show for Game of Thrones that were like, okay, this is a very important scene, and in order to portray this scene, they had to do it this way. But it was a big turning point and stuff like that happened. Others, it's like, yeah, okay, you're just getting the skin on the screen. But Jordan says, I've never watched Game of Thrones. It is an adventure, I tell you. It's one of those shows you really have to pay attention to because there's so many characters running around this universe that you can get lost if you're not paying attention. What else? Are we there yet? Or is it time? No, I'm just kidding. I feel like over the last 10 years, the writing for television has generally gotten a lot better. It's as if they're paying more attention and taking more care in the writing of episodic TV. And I would say that Netflix, Hulu, Amazon have a lot to do with that. Because they've created a venue where these new TV shows can come out for streaming. But there's got to be, Stranger Things is... I love that show. The show's really awesome. And it's been amazing. But, you get these shows that are written where you go, okay, I don't know if a network would have ever actually picked this show up before it came out on Netflix. Now, of course, because of that, you've got these other, the networks and basic cable kind of coming in and going, okay, well, we can take some risks with these shows that we want to do. It's still not at the level, which is interesting, the flip of the level of television that's on streaming versus on network. Part of that is because they can show the premium channel information, the content. They can show the premium channel content on a streaming channel. They just put TVMA and they can do what they want to do. Some shows take advantage of that and they lose their story because they're just interested in whatever. But some shows take full advantage and they're like, if we are going to tell this story correctly, it has to be done at this level, which is really nice because there's a lot of shows on network where I'm like, this show got neutered to be on network because it had to be toned down and you're not getting the full effect that you could be getting if they had that leeway. There's two sides to that. Let's see here. I've been slowly reading the books. Ask Renee. I keep it in my work bag. Nice. So you've been reading the Game of Thrones books. Yeah. I really enjoyed watching Anne with an E on Netflix. It's much darker than the original story, but it's really well done. And that's another thing that, you get those, you can retell stories and get them, you get that darkness or that extra twist into it where people are more accepting of that through streaming devices. If it's on a network station, you get, CBS, which is old people television. And I say that because you get the long running shows that are on there forever, NCIS, CSIs. You get those shows that are geared more towards the older audiences as opposed to the flashier shows like Hawaii Five-0 and Lethal Weapon and stuff like that. And there is something to be said for having parameters set on your content that can really bring out the writing in a show. That being said, it can also hinder. And vice versa. If you have all the freedom in the world, like, hey, you can basically write what you want, it's fine, it's gonna work, no problem. We can put it on there, we just slap this label on it and say, caution, some of this content is for mature audiences only. Then you run the risk also of not having any parameters where you're going, okay, well, if we do this and this and this and this, and it gets crazy. I apologize, I'm about to sneeze. I felt it right up in the nose. So, parameters are nice to have. And if anybody out there is an aspiring television writer, that's what I would say is, even if you have free reign over your content, where you're going to be able to put it, I'm going to sneeze again. This is super awesome. I'm going to try and mute myself before I do it. Oh, come on. There we go. That time you didn't have to listen to me sneeze. The first time it came too fast and I didn't know what was going on. Jordan says, watch a movie called What We Do in the Shadows. That movie is brilliant. Love that movie. It's so good. They're making a kind of a, not really a sequel, I guess, but it's focused on the werewolves. And I'm very much looking forward to that. Taika Waititi is the director, and he was the one that did Thor Ragnarok as well. But his stuff, I'm a big fan of his stuff. And Jermaine Clement is brilliant as an actor. So yes, it is bless you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the blessings. So yeah, any aspiring television writers out there, if you have that free reign, put specific parameters on yourself, and it will help you. It's the same thing as, like, okay, take an hour-long concept, and then, which for television, for network television is 42 minutes. For streaming and stuff, you can get up to the 60 minutes. You can go past 60 minutes, depending on what you're doing with the information. On premium channels, the same. Some of the Westworld episodes were over an hour long. Same with Game of Thrones, that kind of stuff. But if you're writing an hour-long episodic, take that, and if you're doing it for television, 42 minutes, approximately 42 pages, about a minute a page is what they, say, and put it into a half-hour format, which is about 23 minutes, approximately. 23, 24 minutes. So do that. Take the hour long and put it down to half an hour. You will find out what is really necessary in your script. You will find out what really matters. And you can go from there. You can use that as your core. So if you watch TV shows and you can, That's one thing that really bugs me about network television. They have these shows that are slated for the whole year. They go, typically it's 20 to 24 episodes a season. Now, buddy, Jordan, have a good night. 1%, goodbye. Love you, Jordan. Have a great night, buddy. Thank you for coming in, stopping by. Appreciate it. And I will have Stuff and Things up on YouTube by Tuesday. I'll have this episode up there by Tuesday, so you can watch the whole thing if you so choose. CW just premiered The Outpost over the summer. Did you see it at all? It was kind of hard to get into, but John and I are hooked now. I have not seen that. I have not been a huge fan of CW shows for the most part. I have issues with a lot of the writing that they, I will give a show a chance. There are shows that I've tried that I didn't even get an episode into. But when you have a season of shows that's 22 to 24 episodes, or 20 to 24 episodes in a season, you get what's called filler episodes. And those are the episodes that really have nothing to do with the main plot line. We need to move the story along, but if you were to take these episodes out, you might miss one or two bits of information, and that's it. They're almost standalone episodes. That's one of the reasons I like the format that's coming forth, where it's a 10 to 13 episode season, which is what you get with premium channel television shows and you get with streaming television shows. You don't have, unless it's this is the hour-long format. I apologize. I need to distinguish, because the half-hour format, they still will do more because they have, the episodes are shorter, stuff like that. But filler episodes can really, as the seasons go on, you really get into this where, okay, it's a big slump. Lost got into that, I believe, in my opinion. They got into filler episodes a lot in the later seasons, and it really dragged the show down. And you're like, okay, you go week to week, get a month down the road, get 5 episodes down the road, and you're like, okay, so they answered nothing. They didn't really ask any new questions. They just developed the characters a little bit and kind of had them on a misadventure. Okay, so why do we need 24 episodes if it's like, okay, this episode is a filler, this episode is a filler, this episode is a filler? That's what I like about the streaming and premium, is you can go, okay, these 6 episodes are fillers. We can get rid of those. What can we write into the other few episodes, into a few other episodes of this material that is important, so that we can keep it at 10 to 13 episodes in a season? And for hour long, I think that works best, at least for me. It really, hey everybody, how's it going? Yes, DJ is here. It was 10 episodes, okay. The Outpost was 10 episodes. You're here, finally here for the podcast. Harps, holy butts, is it Friday again? Why are you following me everywhere? You guys are awesome. We're talking about television and what works, what doesn't work. Of course, all of this is my opinion, my thoughts. But we're talking about the length of seasons of television shows. How you get 20 to 24 episodes for network TV shows. And because of that, you get a ton of filler episodes. Now, with the half-hour format, it's not as important, because half-hour format is typically reserved for more comedic concepts. Excuse me. Donald Glover with Atlanta, which I have not seen yet, but I really, really do want to watch. He kind of flipped that concept on its head and did a half-hour drama, which is pretty much unheard of. I mean, it made the press as far as, somebody's doing a half-hour drama show. But for the most part, the half-hour concept is reserved for either anthologies like Black Mirror, can be half an hour. I think they extended theirs. Theirs are about an hour long per episode. But Twilight Zone, that's a better example. Twilight Zone, anything like that, you get kind of those anthologies where it fits for a half hour concept. But mostly it's the comedies. So you get Modern Family, you get Goldbergs, you get The Good Place, all these shows, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Last Man on Earth, rest in peace. Oh, so sad that Last Man on Earth got canceled. Still not happy about that one. Simpsons, all the animations, all that kind of stuff, it's all half an hour. And so if you have filler episodes, it's still comedy that you're going for. And if they write the filler episodes well enough to where you're laughing throughout the episode and enjoying yourself, that's great. It works. Have filler episodes. But when you have a drama or an action or a sci-fi or something where there's more intensity to it, having those filler episodes just drags the show along at a slower pace, in my opinion. Obviously, still. Black Mirror, that's my ish. DJ, yeah, Donald Glover is fantastic. I realized that I had discovered Donald Glover before Community, but I didn't realize until Community that I had discovered him before, and it was the I crap my pants viral video online that he had done that I had seen him in before. But in Community, he really took off, and it was, that show was great. I loved Community. Very quirky, very different, very, that concept was hilarious. Black Mirror is great. Yes. So I'm online, and I was lurking around since I'm eating. Eating. I don't know why the word of the day is not working. It should be. The word of the day should be working. That's bizarre. Yeah, the word of the day is television because of the podcast tonight, the podcast. But I don't know why it's not working. That's bizarre. Maybe I need to restart the chat bot or something. All right, but strange. Okay, let me restart it real quick. So it's very interesting how some shows tend to be universal. I mean, they go for the age ranges. This is specifically for this age range. This is specifically for this age range, and like I said, CBS is mostly television for old people because it's it's got those kind of the political dramas, the NCIS, CSI, that kind of show. And let's see here. Okay, now try the word of the day. See if it works. There we go, it's fixed. I feel like I've been way out of the loop with TV shows in general anymore since I don't watch it anymore. Yeah, that would make sense. My favorite shows. I like how you put the numbers, because I can see it over in this. You put the numbers, and it said you were trying to do a link. That's funny. So your favorite is The Office, Parks and Rec, and Punisher. Okay. Punisher. Yes. The Office and Parks and Rec are on regular rotation at my house. I couldn't say those words. Hold on, I need some water. They're on regular rotation over at our house. Parks and Rec is far and away one of my favorite shows of all time. It's hilarious. And I can watch through those episodes all the time. The Office gets a little difficult with the awkwardness of some of it. The awkwardness really is gets to me. But, yeah, Parks and Rec is great. And there are a lot of shows that I really like, but I'm like, would I go back and watch the seasons again? And it's like, no. Parks and Rec, The Office, The IT Crowd. What else we got? There are a few that The Simpsons. I could always go back and watch all those episodes. Uh, the rewatchability is so high with those, and they're done really well. And that was something else that I wanted to talk about, because there was a show that came out this fall. I would not be surprised if it gets canceled, but it's called The Cool Kids, and it's produced by Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it's a laugh track sitcom with that takes place at an old folks home. My wife and I tried to watch it. We got maybe 6-7 minutes into it and couldn't handle it. It was basically set up, punchline, and you saw it coming every time, and the laughter was disproportionate to the joke itself, because a lot of the jokes were old jokes that have been told a million times in the same exact way, and so we lost interest very quickly, because we saw it every time. It's like, okay, here comes the setup, ta-da, and here comes the punchline from somebody else, ta-da, and now we're moving on to the next setup and punchline. There wasn't a lot of normal conversation. It was all about getting the laugh. You get shows like Friends and That 70s Show, and where the laugh track is there. Any of the older shows, I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke Show, Taxi. You get these shows where it's more of a conversation that brings the laughter, as opposed to sounding like, okay, now I'm going to say this, and you're going to say that, and we're going to get a laugh. Within the flow of the conversation is when the laughs come, and the laughs are appropriate. They are not disproportionate to the actual comedy bit. And so laugh track sitcoms, it's real hit and miss for me. But let's see who else is here. Mega Mirror with the lurk. Thank you so much. Got to run. Bunko time. Have a good stream. Have fun with D&D. Yes, I'm playing D&D tonight for the first time ever. Harp says, see ya, Mira. They are for me. Well, let me see here. Okay. Gilmore Girls for Mega Mira. That's one of her favorite shows. I have not watched that show, but I know about it. They are for me as well when I do turn on TV. And by TV, I mean go to Comcast website while I'm going to sleep. You should work on a Ron Swanson impersonation. That one, it's very difficult, because I mean, you can get it's more of a cadence than the voice. Because if you get, I mean, you can drop the voice lower, but it's all about the cadence. And if you get the cadence, people can kind of put aside that it doesn't sound exactly like Nick Offerman, because Nick Offerman is Nick Offerman. That's just him. That's his voice, the Ron Swanson voice. That's basically him. If you ever hear him laugh, it is the most oxymoronic thing, as far as you watch him as Ron Swanson, and then you hear, even in the show when he laughs, that's his real laugh, and it's hysterical. It is an amazing laugh. I love it. So his is more of a cadence and way of the way he speaks. Let's see here. Heard it was super bad. The Cool Kids, if you're referring to that, yeah, it was just no good. Oh my gosh, you need to. All the feels. His laughs are amazing. Oh yeah, so good. Yeah, it's that show I could talk about for forever. It's so good. Bye bye, little Sebastian. Oh, it's just magical. Awkward television is a very interesting idea and concept that I think the British, the British creators have really honed in on. If you watch the original The Office from the UK, you think that the awkward level on the American The Office gets bad? Watch one episode. any episode. You can turn on any episode of The Office from the UK. There's not a lot to choose from. There's 12, and then there's 2 Christmas specials. But I guarantee you the awkward, cringe-worthy level of conversation and events on the British Office is far worse than anything you see on the American version. Oh my gosh. We've been watching through the UK version. My wife has not seen the UK version, and so we're watching through it and just... Oh, I have to hide my eyes. Just like, no, this is just so bad. It's so awkward. Another show that does it, that is an American show, does it brilliantly is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. One episode in particular where they decide that they can do an extreme home makeover on their own, and they essentially kidnap a family and burn down their house. Oh my gosh. That was one of the most awkward television episodes of anything I've ever seen. Ever. But what I like about them is Caitlin Olsen went on to do The Mick, which got canceled also, I believe. That show was funny. And Glenn Howerton went to do AP Bio, which has one of my favorite characters in a TV show. And she is hilarious. Heather, I think is her name on the show. Yeah, it's basically disgraced college professor goes and teaches AP Bio at a small high school. And hilarity ensues because he's very petty and a jerk. I feel like as TV goes, I go back to classics I have good memories tied to. Like my most watched anything would probably be Pokemon's original series and Futurama. Always Sunny is crazy, but Danny DeVito is a god amongst men. The stuff that he does on that show, I can't believe that they get him to do the stuff he does on that show. Honestly. Futurama, it's brilliant. So sad that that ended. I'm glad they brought it back and they did their little mini movies and stuff like that. But that show was great. And it was actually a trivia question where it was a provable theorem. The first provable theorem that was on a TV show that was specifically related to the TV show was from Futurama. And it was the episode with the Harlem Globetrotters where they're trying to get everybody's minds back into their own bodies. And they had to figure out how to do that so that everybody's brains or minds would be back in their own body. It's brilliant. It's really hard to explain, but it was the first one, and it's provable. It's like they actually had it and it's a provable theorem. It's crazy the amount of work that went into that show. We are watching through Disenchantment right now, my wife and I, and it's hilarious. So the little cat, sorry, demon, is just great. It's so funny. And Elfo, I'm drowning. I'm Elfo. It's just good entertainment to me. Trying to think. I just started watching The Haunting of Hill House, and the first episode, I had to watch Monty Python stuff afterwards. It was really well done and creepy, and I am on the second episode right now because I haven't had a chance to watch any more of it, but I marathoned that. It is so good. Cat. How many episodes are you in? I think we're 5 episodes in, 5 or 6 episodes in. We're getting there. I don't want to spoil anything. What is that now? The Haunting of Hill House is on Netflix, and it's a new horror TV show, and it is. I don't get scared often watching horror stuff. I get scared at random things that other people are like, that's stupid. The paranormal activity movies I can't watch on my own in the dark. Just because, and part of that has to do with the. I told the story about my old house before, and what happened at that house, and so part of that comes from that. But yeah, the Haunting of Hill House is creepy so far, and I think it's well done. Nice. Definitely poised to have more seasons for Disenchantment. That's awesome. I didn't hear the story. If you want to tell it again, I mean that's if you guys out there want to hear it, we can do that one more time. I mean, it is October. Time for scary stories is good. I can run through it a little quicker than the last time. The last time I drew it out a little bit, but it's movie time. So my wife and I lived in this house before I got married to her. I lived in this house by myself, and then I had my brother and one of my cousins lived there with me for a little while. But I was there mostly just me in this house. My parents owned the house, and so my brother and sister-in-law and their kids lived in it before, and then they moved, and I went in and moved into that house. So living there by myself, I'd hear things, and I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I heard a noise. It's obviously some malevolent spirit. It's not me. I'm like, oh, a pipe just, ticked, or the house creaked a little bit, whatever. But I was hearing stuff like the front door open and shut. And at first, the first time that it happened, I was in the master bedroom, and I heard the front door open and shut. And I'm like, okay, so my parents are the landlords. They have the key code to the front door, so they can come in and whenever. And I went out to the door of the master bedroom, and I was like, oh, hey, who's here? No answer, no lights on downstairs, no nothing. And that happened a few times with the door open shut sound. At one point, I was in the master bedroom, and I heard footsteps in my attic. And it wasn't, my brother and sister-in-law had squirrels in the attic before, but it was not squirrels. It was specific, like, actual footsteps. And I heard them, and it was clear as a bell. It wasn't like, well, maybe that was footsteps. It was like, no, that was footsteps. And so somebody came over, and they looked in the attic, and it was a gun or a baseball bat, I can't remember. Because I was legit like, there's somebody in my attic. I don't know or something is happening. I don't know what's going on. So, those little things were happening and everything. And then I got married. Renee moved into the house. Things kind of settled for a little bit, but I'd hear things on occasion. And then one night, we're laying in bed, and I'm half asleep. And she rolls over and she says, what did you say? And I'm trying to wake up to answer her. I'm like, what? I was like, I was going to sleep. She goes, you didn't whisper, come a little closer? No, didn't. So I wasn't the only one that was hearing things. And she heard a full sentence. And she went to sleep like, meh, whatever. And I laid there until about 2 or 3 in the morning, freaked out. So this is all happening. We find out that when my brother and sister-in-law lived in the house, their son, who was 2 or 3 at the time, nightly would be in his room going, no, I don't want to, no, don't make me. Found that out. Now, we believe that Jesus has power over unearthly realms and the spirit realm, stuff like that. So they had someone come over, pray over the room, and anoint it with oil. And my nephew never shouted out at night again. So these sounds are happening. My wife is hearing a voice whisper to her. And one day I'm going to get the mail, and we had one of those communal mail boxes where you have a key and you open it, get your mail, whatever. Your house was haunted by Cage the elephant. Funny. So I'm there, the mailman is there, and he knows who I am. We've talked a few times, and he kind of rifles through. He goes, I don't have anything for you today. I was like, all right. So I turned to walk away, and again, like I said, the last time I told this story, this is 100% true. I am not exaggerating at all. Not one bit. Not one. I'm not trying to make this a bigger story than it is. This is exactly what happened. I turned to walk back to my house, and he literally said, have you ever heard the history of your house? So I turn around and I say, no, I haven't. And he goes, yeah, well, there was a guy who lived there before and he murdered his wife in that house. Okay. So now I'm like, what is going on? I called a couple of people. I'm like, you will never believe what the mailman just told me. And they're kind of like, yeah, okay. So I start to think, yeah, he might have been messing with me. Because we kind of were new to the neighborhood and maybe he was just like, heh. I'm just going to mess with this guy. Maybe he's that kind of person. Don't know. So I start doing research online. And he said it was about 15 years ago. And so I start doing research 15 years ago, murders in the area I lived. And I found an article about a guy who had murdered his wife while they're in the master bedroom while their kids were in another room. Okay, that's, it's in the area. Doesn't necessarily mean it was my house. So I do a reverse lookup on the address where I'm living. And it shows the previous owners of the house. And his name shows up as a previous owner of this house. So... yeah. Guy murdered his wife in the house we were living in. Most of the sounds that we heard were while we were in the master bedroom. And so we had people come and pray, and they wrote scriptures on stakes, put them in the four corners of the property and stuff like that. And pretty much, for the most part, all the sounds went away. There were a few other instances, but... yeah, stuff like where I'd be out and my wife would text me. It sounds like somebody's messing with the television in the other room. And I'm like, oh, okay. We called him Carl the Hobo Ghost. That was our way of kind of being like, all right, Carl the Hobo Ghost. So, yeah. See, that's and it's 100% true. Everything I told you. I'm writing very slowly. I'm writing them based on a true story. That's where the embellishments will come for storytelling purposes. But the core of the story is what I just told you, and that is 100% true. Down to the fact that the freaking mailman, it was like out of a horror movie. Oh, I got nothing for you. All right, see ya. Has anyone ever told you the history of your house? Like, who says that out of the blue? Randomly. What? So yeah, that's the story. Yeah, it is freaky. It was, because like I said, I'm not that, I love horror movies. I watch them all the time, and most of them don't freak me out at all. There's some that do, but yeah. It just, I don't have any explanation for it at all. I don't know what was going on with that, but yeah, I've seen plenty of white spirits, which our family basically decided they are my grandparents. Okay, so what are white spirits? I have not heard that term. Would love to know what white spirits are. But yeah, so you get a good television show. Like, so far I'm enjoying the Haunting of Hill House. I'm trying to think of other kind of horror shows that. Channel Zero. I'm still in the first season. It's been hard to get through, just in terms of time and stuff like that. But Channel Zero is pretty creepy, and that show is each new season is a different story, kind of like American Horror Story is a different story each season. But white spirits are basically non-malevolent spirits or show no sign of ill will. Okay, that makes sense. So, like, Gandalf, the spirit. American Horror Story is an interesting show as well. I feel like that the white spirit actually saved me when I was really little. I don't know if I told you that story. No, you did not. You have not told me that story. Interesting. Ooh. I'm very curious now. I'll keep talking while you're typing, or... Yeah. American Horror Story is kind of a hit or miss for me. The first season I thought was decent. The second season I thought was really good. It was the Asylum one. Took place in the Asylum. I've been having a difficult time getting through the third season. I did have a difficult time. I finally got through it, I think. I think that was Coven. And then season 4, Freak Show, which I'm about halfway through. And have been for a long time. But I want to get to Hotel. I think that one will be interesting. And then I want to get to this new season, which is like basically end of days stuff. Which, whatever. But yeah, it's television is a very interesting medium, and I think it's come a long ways competing with movies. And it's interesting because I'll watch some movies and I'm like, you could expand this experience into a TV show, and I think it would do the story justice more than cramming things into a movie. 2 examples. Valerian, which had a gigantic universe, and they crammed it into like a 2-hour movie. And I was like, no, you have so much you can do with this concept. And I felt like the movie was disjointed because they were trying to cram all this information in. The second one is The Dark Tower. How do you take a seven books? I think 7 books. I'm in the 3rd book right now. 7-book anthology, and go, okay, we're gonna make an hour and 40-minute movie out of 7 books. That's just no. Hey, Dogman, thank you for the 2 bits. Thank you. Welcome. We're doing Stuff and Things. We've got about 8 minutes left, and then I am not doing a stream this evening because I'm going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons with my brothers, which will be interesting because I've never played before, so I'm excited to play. But I lost my train of thought. Holy cow, where'd it go? Train of thought, come back. Yeah, honestly, gone. Out of here. See ya. TV shows, movies. Oh, Dark Tower. Yeah. Travesty, in my opinion. They really need to make it into a TV show. And they can do, like, a season a book. That kind of thing. I think that would work. But, yeah, trying to cram all that information. And reading through the books, I'm like, okay, so it doesn't make any sense, 90% of what's going on in the movie, because you have to take, okay, they took a chapter from this book and maybe, a little bit of information from this book in order to hodgepodge it together to create a paper mache film. And I was just like, no, that's not. Oh, it just doesn't do it justice. Stephen King has, I think, gotten the short end of the stick with a lot of the productions of films that they've done, of his movies, the horror movies. Now, Shawshank Redemption and Green Mile, I thought were great movies, really well done. But you get, Carrie was good, the first one, and but Pet Cemetery was cheesy and didn't really do it justice. They really took Dreamcatcher and flushed that down the toilet. That movie, oh my gosh. I liked the new It. I really did. I thought it was really well done, and I'm glad that they split it up into 2 movies. I'm excited about that. But you get a lot of his movies that are just, you don't even know about them, that they were made into movies, because there's some short stories that he did that went straight to Netflix movies that nobody heard about or saw or watched. He never liked The Shining. I know we're going into movies a little bit at the moment, but talking about movie, television, books, all, whatever. So he did not like Stanley Kubrick's interpretation of The Shining. And I didn't know why. I had seen the movie a couple times, like, okay. And then I read the book, and I'm like, oh, I get it. They really did butcher this concept. And kind of went in a totally different direction. But now they're starting to do more of the TV shows and taking care of the work. Because you read a Stephen King book and it is so in-depth and so in detail that it's difficult to take. One of my favorite ones, I'm jumping around like a jackrabbit right now. One of my favorite interpretations was The Mist. That movie is really good, and if you get a chance to watch it in black and white, they have the movie in black and white. It's a whole new eerie experience. It's really cool. They did that with Mad Max Fury Road too. They called it was it Chrome and Black Edition, and that's wild to watch that movie. That's so colorful and all the stuff that is happening in black and white. It's very interesting. Kind of got off topic, but that's kind of what happens with this vodcast. We start talking and we have interaction and all this kind of stuff, and then the next thing you know, the hour's almost over. My goodness. But I will say, as I've said before many times, if you have any ideas or thoughts on what you would like to hear discussed or talk about or interact with on any of these vodcasts, on any of the Stuff and Things vodcasts, please let me know. Shoot me a message, put something in the chat, whatever, anything. That's what this is about. It's about interactivity. It's about talking with each other and hearing everybody's opinions and thoughts and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know if you have any topics that you would like to see discussed on Stuff and Things. I'm working on more guests that I'm going to try to get on the podcast. I feel sort of like it would be a little more professional for me to get into an office before I get more guests. But in order to do that, I need the money to do that and all that. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. But I'm going to continue to do this every week, whether I have a topic or not. I'm going to just talk. We're just going to figure it out as we go along. It'll get better. I will have the intro back next week. As I said at the outset of this vodcast, my daughter was playing with a light switch, turning the lights on and off rapidly, and it tripped a circuit breaker and corrupted the file I was working on. So that's why there was no intro this week to this. Yeah, that's over there. It's neither here nor there, but over there. So yeah, I hope you all are enjoying this podcast. I enjoy talking about random things, and movies, television are two of my bigger interests. And so if you ever have questions about what I think about this movie or that TV show or whatever, anything really, just let me know. It's interactive, it's fun, I enjoy this. I really do. It's nerve-wracking, especially when I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to fill an hour. And then every time an hour goes by, and I'm like, what just happened? I'm still talking, and an hour has gone by. That's crazy to me. So, I am looking forward to getting more guests on and asking about their lives and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if I get that sponsorship from Aviation Gin, maybe I can get Ryan Reynolds to come on the Stuff and Things podcast. I can't say it too fast because then it sounds like stuffing things. It's like next week, turkeys. So, but thank you for joining me this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had some fun. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. But thank you. If you get a chance, I did write my story for you. Sorry, I didn't know if you saw. I did not have a chance to take a look, but I will take a look at it after this. Thank you again. Have a wonderful week. We'll be back with Stuff and Things next Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am not streaming tonight. I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons with my brothers. And I will be back streaming normally tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, probably. That's usually what happens on the weekends now. So, thank you. Good luck with your D&D. Thank you so much. You all have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in the future.